Good morning, everybody. I'm Devall with Eagle Homes, powered by Coldwell Banker Realty. I'm here with Mr.
Brad Brewer, all those same things. Happy Monday morning.
Yeah.
A long weekend.
So today, a lot of changes coming up. We are about 3 weeks out from the NAR changes that we as agents have to understand and be able to work with and be able to explain to our buyers and our sellers, right? So, want to talk about that a little bit today and kind of give a little bit of information on the whys, hows, things like that, and kind of the importance of it and why these changes are happening in our industry today. Now, I would say one of the positives is Wisconsin and Illinois have had buyer agency agreements in place prior to this settlement happening. Now, what is changing is that there's going to be some different things that have to be filled out prior to us showing you homes. But kind of want to talk about how this is going to affect us, how this is going to affect you as a buyer and as a seller, and what we can do to move forward and how we're here to help you. So,
Yep, absolutely.
can you hear me okay in your earbuds?
I can.
Okay, good. All right. So let's start. You want to start the buyer side or seller side, Brad?
Let's go buyer side first. That's fine. Um, so so a lot of different changes going on. Apparently, I don't think this is super important as far as the number, but four different forms.
Four different forms for us in
Coming.
Wisconsin.
I don't know what's the range there from sounds like unlocking the door to actual buyer agency representation.
Yeah.
Which is essentially what everybody's been used to is you as a buyer, you sign a buyer agency agreement, we represent you in your best interest, you produce your responsibilities, negotiate on your behalf, all those awesome, wonderful things, and a bunch of other stuff we're going to talk about as well.
Yeah. So it's one form for I just want you to let me in the house. I don't need your opinion. To I just want to see this one house with you. I am not signing a long-term contract. And we can still represent you to I want to see I want you to be the person that represents me moving forward. I'm going to sign a extensive contract until we find a house. So maybe it's a month, maybe it's 3 months, however long it takes, based on what you're looking for. So uh, let's talk about let's give some reasons on why someone would want an agent to represent them besides just unlocking a door.
Absolutely.
So
first point that comes to mind is we are not only are we experienced professionals, but we are trained in all areas from market knowledge to obviously writing contracts and negotiations. Obviously training from different agents vary. You want to make sure when you're interviewing, or I guess we'll call it the courting period.
Yeah.
With your agent. And I think some of these forms I'll tie it back to the forms. I've done this before. Vince mentioned, of one of these agreements can be just unlocking the door and let you in. You're not looking for our opinion to, maybe a specific property. These are all things covered under Wisconsin. We called it pre-agency before.
Right.
Often did not write a buyer agency agreement until we were ready to write an offer. You could do it just for that particular property. You could do it, like Ben said, months down the line. But you definitely want to have an experienced and professional guidance because there's so many facets. And I don't know if we have time. I can give an example of one if you'd like.
Go for it.
I mean, kind of rare, but as a buyer, when you write an offer and you decide to have an inspection, which the vast majority of people have inspections on a home, you can tell the seller in the offer whether you're going to give them the right to cure. If you do that, you cannot just say after the inspection, because you didn't like some particular thing about the home, you can't just say, well, I'm out.
Right.
Because you gave the seller the right to cure that defect. And the seller says, hey, no problem. I'll cure that defect. You are still under contract. Therefore, if you still want out and try to get out, you breached contract. If you breach contract, this is not all inclusive, but seller has the right to retain your earnest money. Seller can sue you and force you to still close. Seller can give up partial down earnest money. Seller can sue you for additional damages beyond just earnest money. If they still decide to let you out and not buy the home, the seller can sue you for additional damages, time lost, money lost, things like that. So I just had this. I was on the seller side. We had right to cure. We are going to retain earnest money from a buyer on a home because they wasted a ton of our time, delivered stuff right up against deadlines. And so like, no, we're going, if you try and sue us, you're going to lose.
Right.
We're going to retain your earnest money. And that is the right. And that's where an experienced professional agent writing your contract will know. And we'll have those conversations. Do you want, it's a common question every time I write an offer. Do you want to give them right to cure? Here's your options. Now,
here's why.
Here's why you may or may not. Yeah. Now, we've gone through many years now of a seller's market. Now, I will tell them it's nice to give the seller the right to cure because it's going to look good because they don't want you to have an easy out if they accept your offer, especially if it's competitive. But have an experienced agent that knows this stuff to walk you through the really key points of the offer are very critical.
Yeah. Well, and let's talk about that a little bit and a little bit different than in Illinois.
Yeah.
So with Illinois, keep in mind, everyone, we have 3 agents on our team that are licensed both Illinois and Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. But in Illinois, we have a 5-day period, which is inspection and attorney review. During that attorney review, we could have already done inspection. The attorney could send you a letter, the day of day 5 and say, we do not find this contract acceptable. We are avoiding the contract as of today, right? No reason given, nothing like that. So a little bit different during that first 5 days, and it makes it a little tougher. We just had this happen to one of my properties. And so, we're going back to market with no justifiable reason. I mean, heck, the agent that was representing the buyer had no idea it was happening until she woke up the next morning. It was kind of nuts.
That's where the attorney.
Yeah, so experienced professional guidance. I like also you mentioned local market knowledge. Mm-hmm. That is really key when you're working with an agent. I hate to say it, like I'm not going to go down and represent a buyer, say in the city of Chicago, because I don't know the city of Chicago. I don't know what homes are going for. I'm not in the mix on, our homes going for over ask price. Are they waiving inspections? Are they, or going, up to Eagle River area, because I don't know what's happening. But here locally, I can tell you based on price point, what's going to get it done. Now, ultimately, it's up to you as the buyer.
Yeah.
If you want, if you want to go over list, or if you want to, make some modifications on how we are going to ask for repairs on a home inspection, or are we going to help offset taxes? There's different ways we can negotiate for you, but knowing what's working in the market that you're looking in is vital. I mean, it is very, very important to work with someone that's familiar with that.
Yeah. And I think it's a good responsibility. Again, to me, it goes back to the experienced agent. Yeah. If you're kind of interviewing an agent, just ask them what areas they cover.
Yeah.
Because if you just ask me that, like you're going to be different because you're going to have your Illinois area and your Wisconsin. I'm going to be a little bit different, honestly, with the buyer. Because if I'm listing a property, I can do enough research and know how to market a property. So my geographical range on a listing is further than working with a buyer.
Yeah,
like
agree.
If you ask me to list a property, let's say north side of Milwaukee, I'm probably going to do it because I know I can do that. I've done it before. I can do the research, the marketing, negotiation, and all that good stuff's the same. If you ask me to represent you as a buyer up in North Milwaukee, I'm probably going to hesitate a little bit. I've done it. But I'm honest with my buyer and say, I'm going to need to do a little bit more research before we write an offer because there's a lot of things I have to look at.
Right.
Just to make sure I've got full knowledge. I've done, when I say north side of Milwaukee, I'm like north of Milwaukee. I'm pretty much in Milwaukee covered, but like when you got towards Mequon, stuff
yeah,
like that.
Yeah.
And you obviously have a similar with Wisconsin as well as Illinois.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Yeah.
So
same idea.
But I think, because you'll get a lot of agents like, hey, do you cover Sheboygan? And they're going to say, sure, yeah, I can do that. And because they want the business, right? That's why I think it's just better just ask them, what do you cover? You know, and then I'll just usually say, pretty much Milwaukee, Waukesha, Jefferson, Rock, Walworth, Kenosha, Racine.
Right.
I mean,
That
those are
that little circle.
basically.
Yeah.
I don't think I missed any. I don't think I missed any counties in that little area
Yeah.
there.
So market knowledge, I think, is huge
Yeah.
for you as a buyer. Um, and then time saving.
Mhm.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Like people are like, oh, I'm gonna use whatever agent's listed is listing the property. Well, there's a couple things with that. Let's say one, I use this example. I love this example. Let's say you're married. Brad, let me ask you a question. If you and your wife, Andrea, got a divorce, are you going to use the same attorney to represent both you and her?
I am not,
Why would you not? It might save you some money.
because that attorney can only represent one person's best interest.
Yeah, right. That's so true. Same thing with real estate agents.
Yep.
I mean, unless you're doing a single party listing, like you've already negotiated the terms with the seller, you need an agent to write up the contract. That's one thing. But if you walk into an open house and say, "Oh, you know what? Yeah, you're the listing agent. I want to write an offer." That's great. They have an interest to their seller. They already have a contract with their seller. They're going to represent the seller in their best interest, and all they're going to do typically is, put the numbers on paper for you. They're not going to negotiate for you. I mean, they
You
shouldn't.
can't.
They can't. They shouldn't be. Let's put it that way. They
You can't.
shouldn't be. But they will, they'll put it on paper for you. Now the question is, are they representing your best interest?
Right.
I don't think so.
Like they're not going to probably guide you on. They may explain it, but explaining that's different from advising.
Yes,
Like when I
true.
mentioned the whole part about the right to cure.
Yep.
Um, Well in septic tests, the addendum B in our association used to default to seller pays. Actually defaults to buyer pays now.
Yep.
If they write that contract, you might just think, well, that's just expected then because this defaults to buyer pays. Still never had a buyer pay for. I have, but it was again a negotiation thing because we were up against multiple offers. But just like no other offers up against, I asked seller to pay that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, and then we talked about at the beginning here, there's going to be multiple forms. Like we can open one door for you. We can, look at just one house for you, or we can do multiple homes.
right.
I mean, if I was a buyer, do I want to repeat over and over and over again to a new agent
Mhm.
every time I go to a new house to what I'm looking for and why I'm looking for it and why I'm moving and what my goals are with this property?
Mhm.
No, why don't find an agent that you know, like, and trust to represent you in the whole scheme of things?
Well, and a good agent learns too.
Yeah.
Like, if I see two, three, four properties, I'll ask the questions. What do you like about this? What do you not like about this? And then that way, sometimes a client will be like, hey, I want to go see this house. And I'll say, it's got, you said you wanted 4 bedrooms. This one has 2. So, boy, we are way off.
Right.
I mean, why are you wanting to go see this? And I make them explain it. In fact, you get such a comfort level, you can be like, we're not going to see that. You will not like this.
Yep.
But that's because you've got such confidence because you've built a rapport, the know, like, and trust that you talked about. You get to that level.
Exactly. Well, and it's not just that, but it's also, it has to do with, like, eventually we're gonna figure out what, you walk into a house. Let's say that we know right at the bat that house is not bad, is not the one for you. I'm gonna ask, what'd you like about this house? You're gonna be like, oh, I like the location. That's why we're looking at it. But everything else about the house is garbage. Or, man, I know it's not the right house for me, but I really like the space we had in the basement down there. Okay, well, that's great. Now as we can continue to learn, even if it is not the right house, I'm still going to ask the question: what did you really like about this house?
Exactly.
Because it's going to give us an opportunity there. Now, I want to kind of get through some of this because I want to get to the buyer side of this. So a few more minutes on this, but
Listing side.
yeah, listing side. Thank you. But also using a buyer or an agent to represent you, you get like Brad said earlier, the negotiation skills and the peace of mind that they are going to represent you in your best interest. So, uh, now some of the things you may not realize that we as agents have the opportunity to offer you is one of the things, early access to listings.
Yeah.
I mean, if we have a listing coming up that we know is going to check your box and fit what you're looking for, we could say, hey, Brad, just so you know, I have one in Silver Lake. It's a 3 bedroom, 2 bath. It's going to be priced right about here. Is that something that would interest you? Okay. Or delayed listings here in Wisconsin, active private listings in Illinois. Both those are not readily available unless you're working with an agent. Those do not hit the syndicated sites. They don't go to the realtor.com, homes.com, Zillow, Redfin. I don't even know all the syndicated sites, but early access to listings.
Yep. Yeah, we keep in touch with a lot. We keep in touch with other agents, and we build rapport with other agents too that tell us like, "Hey, I've got this coming."
Yeah.
You develop a reputation with other agents that you know, like, trust, and actually. It's kind of funny. It goes two ways, right?
Yeah.
So that's a great resource. Did you hit the six before
That,
we
that's
move on the list?
no, that's what we're kind of on right now. But the neighborhood insights, right? Like, so we can't talk about. Now, keep in mind, we can't talk about crime rates.
Mhm.
We can't talk about is it safe area or I would raise my family here, right? We can't steer you based on that neighborhood. But we can give you the information. We can what drive you around the neighborhood, right? I mean, you as a buyer obviously can pick up on if every house on your block has a well manicured lawn, all the windows are attached. There's not, bunch of garbage sitting in the yard, you can tell it, hey, this is not a bad neighborhood. People take care of their homes. There's some value here. But if you get a nice looking house in the middle of a block that has, you know, run down homes, it's going to hurt you a little bit. You're going to maybe think twice about that. So a little bit of neighborhood insights. Uh, like Brad talked about, pricing assistance, helping write an appealing offer. I mean, we've already talked about, there's multiple ways beyond price. We talked about in other podcasts, multiple ways beyond price that that you as a buyer can make your offer appealing. And let me tell you guys, if you're not working with one of us and your agent doesn't pick up the phone and call that listing agent to find out what their seller's needs and wants are, they're not doing you justice. I mean, nothing's worse than you find out you missed out because they really wanted to close on August 30th and you put August 15th. And you could have easily waited till August 30th.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw out a pet peeve with other agents just because it drives me nuts every time. If you call an agent, sorry agents, I'm calling you out on this, but don't. If you call an agent and they have an automated voicemail that's not them, hang up, call another agent. Sorry. I hope nobody on our team does that. I'm gonna mention that today in our meeting.
Hi, you've reached 262-302. No, just go ahead.
That just
Sorry.
drives me nuts. I'm sure there's some really good agents out there that have that. I'm just like, really? You're a professional. Your voicemail should give people information. Now, mine was long and I trimmed it down because I got some flack.
Hallelujah.
But it was detailed.
It was a, it was a 3 minute
Also, Verizon has
detail.
that stupid thing at the end where it's like, I don't know, it's something it says at the end, like menu options or something after your voicemail
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
before you connect. So it takes like a minute and a half to get to somebody's voicemail. It drives me nuts.
3 minutes of brats. So before we jump into buyer, let's talk about compensation. Now, with the new buyer agency agreement, we are going to talk about how you're going to compensate that agent on that particular listing so that they can help navigate the process for you. Now, if a seller isn't offering it, there is going to be different ways, buyers, that we can write into the offer. The new offer to purchase has it in there, which we're going to talk about in our team meeting today. So we got to make sure agents know how to counter that out right now. But there's going to be that ability to say, hey, we want the seller to pay XYZ, 2.4% for closing cost credit or your buyer agency commission. The other way is, you pay some of it, right? And the other way is we reduce it a little bit.
Yeah.
So there's different ways around it, but our job as an agent is to find out what sellers are offering on the commission. Now, sellers, that brings us in this part two of this.
Yeah.
Should you offer seller compensation?
Yes.
Why?
It's a form of marketing. I'm going to say it. That's one thing. I'll expand on that.
Why? How's it a form of marketing?
So, well,
You
again,
like how I just asked the
I know,
leading question.
kind of come down to also picking the right agent to list your house.
Yep.
So, and I've thrown the stat out on this show before. 81% of buyers find homes through one of two resources. The number one is online now.
Yep.
Okay. But we always just listed a bunch of reasons to use an agent when you find a home online, right? 29% of that is still an agent. So having an agent is the one that helps you find the homes. So therefore, as a listing agent, sellers, one of the things that we do is we market your home to other agents, not just the general public.
Right.
There are a lot of agents. I don't know the percentage. I know it's heavy, well over probably 60%. Don't do that.
Yeah.
You need to, so when you offer that, also the percentage itself is a form of advertising. Like if you say, hey, I'm offering 2.5% to your agent versus 1.5% to your agent, you know, should an agent do this? No, they should not. What I'm about to say, you should not. If I see a property though that's offering 3%, it's not the fact that there's a buyer I'm working with. I'm gonna start thinking if I see a home that says, all right, we're gonna pay the agent 3% or 2.5%, I'm gonna start thinking in my head, geez, what buyers do I have out there that would like this home?
Right.
Versus if I see one that's offered at 1.5%, I'm just gonna be like, all right, it's more of like, all right, what buyers am I working with right now?
Yeah.
Versus I'll start thinking beyond that. That's natural. Again, it's just a form of marketing.
Yep.
All it is a form of marketing that your agent can do to help you get that home sold.
So it's going to help attract more buyers to your property by offering that. The other thing is buyers today don't have that extra money they typically need every penny that they, maybe not every penny, but they need a very large portion of their money that they have saved up for their down payments and their, closing costs and things like that. So, that's a significant expense to them.
Exactly.
Now, keep in mind, if you're selling, you're probably then buying. So you're going to be in the same boat. You're hoping that seller is going to offer compensation to you.
Yeah.
And in some cases, I'll give a great example. I'm working with 3 buyers right now, $0 cash to close.
Really?
$0 cash to close. Okay. So what that means is that we're going to be asking for some type of concessions to help offset their closing costs.
Yep.
One's a VA, so there's not much there, but still 3 buyers that I'm going to need to get concessions for to help offset their closing costs. Now, come August 17th, if that seller is no longer offering seller compensation, it's going to be really hard for us to write an offer on your property.
Yeah.
I mean, not saying we won't, but it's going to be really hard for them to say, hey, we need 5% because I need 2.5% for closing costs and 2.5% to pay my agent.
Yeah. The other thing where I think, and sorry if I get more on that.
Nope.
But the other thing I was thinking of too is, right now we are in the seller's market still, what would probably be defined as a seller's market. Inventory is starting to creep up. When this market someday, whether that's this year, next year, in 5 years, whatever it is, goes back to a buyer's market, the listings now, what buyer's market basically is, buyers have a lot of choices.
Right.
Which that means is, and if they're gonna have to maybe pay their agent a percentage, no, they're gonna go buy a house because they got a lot of choices.
Yep.
They're gonna go buy a house that the seller's paying that commission to their buyer's agent.
Right.
So it's gonna get to the buyer, and the buyer's gonna be like, and you're already seeing little signs of stuff like buyers are like super finicky right now on some stuff like, hey, we're still paying this pretty high premium for a home. This $300,000 home that was $225 5 years ago, or maybe less. All right, I'm expecting certain things, and that would be one of those you could pay my agent.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's going to be a huge challenge moving forward. And I think working with the right agent on both sides that can explain the benefits, the pros and cons to you, and how it is going to help both you as a seller get more buyers into your home.
Yeah.
and how it's going to help a buyer be able to write the right offer to get you your maximum dollar on your property.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of navigating that and trying to figure out what the best way to do that is.
Yeah, and you could get creative. I'll say this to sellers. You can get creative with your agent. I don't recommend it because it leaves a lot of gray area, but you could, it's not that you're not offering a compensation to the buyer's agent. You could just leave it as negotiable. Here's what I'm gonna say I don't like that right away, when I said it, is that's kind of a blind scenario. And again, when buyers are starting to have more choices, inventory is starting to raise up a little bit.
Right.
Um, they're just going to go for the certainty. So when you leave things uncertain, it could pay off in the fact that, okay, you get an agent that offers, 2% when the selling guy wanted, 2.5% or whatever. But you leave a lot of uncertainty there. So there's the positives and the downside to it.
Yeah. And as an agent, if let's say as a seller, let's start there as a seller, if you're offering, say, 3% commission to a buyer's agent, as a seller's agent, all Brad's gonna do is call me and be like, is your client offering compensation?
Yeah.
Yes. Brad is then gonna write it into his offer to, seller to pay 2.4% of buyer agent's commission, right? Now, just because you're offering 3% doesn't mean that he's going to get that.
Yeah.
I mean, this could be Brad just started working with the brand new buyer. Buyer really likes the house. Brad's like, man, if we can get this and I can do it for 2% for this buyer,
Right.
and it's going to win the deal, I might do that, right?
Yeah.
I might do that. But if I've been running around this buyer for 8 months, I might try to get my 2.4%, right? So it's hit or miss.
Like I said, it's not a bad strategy, but it's also not like a great strategy. I mean, you're just presenting, it's a risk.
Yes,
There's
correct.
a risk and reward there. It's kind of like when I go talk to a seller about how to price their listing. We've talked about this before, how we go in with the 3 pricing strategies.
Yep.
And I give positives and like rewards and risks
right
for both.
Yep.
For all 3 scenarios, and then what is your seller most comfortable with? It can be as similar.
Where do you want to be
doing
yeah
that? Yeah,
exactly. So all right, we're right at 9:30, guys. I'm Vince Devall with Coldwell Banker Realty and the Eagle Homes team, and I'm here with
sorry, I got people blowing me up on this property that's back in the market, so
good for you.
A little distraction there. My name is Brad Brewer. We are, of course, with Coldwell Banker Eagle Homes, like Vince said. Have a great week. Sorry we missed you last couple weeks, by the way. Vince was on vacation, 4th of July, all that good stuff, right?
Yep. And Brad doesn't believe in doing this on his own.
No, I don't. Who wants to listen to me talk for 30 minutes by myself? Nobody.
You're right. He's boring as shit. All right, guys. You guys have a great week. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.